Hello, Miss Elias. This is my human heart and respiratory video because my 3D models at school, I had to make a slideshow. Here is the blood flow of the human heart, but I'm just kind of using this to label the parts. So you can see the larynx is at the top, of the trachea beneath it, with the right lung being on the left side over here, the left lung being over here, the aorta being right here, superior vena cava being that one right there, the pulmonary arteries being that, the left atrium being here, mitral valve being that white thing in there, the right atrium being over here, tricuspid valve being that white thing right there, inferior vena cava being here. The diaphragm would be beneath the heart and lungs, so somewhere around right there. The alveolus is the small sacs on the end of the bronchioles, which are those little black things. The bronchus are these two big things that kind of go into the lungs there. The upper lobe is the top half of the lungs. The lower lobes is the bottom half. And that is the left atrium. This is the left ventricle down there. Down here is the right ventricle and the right atrium. And yeah, that's all the parts there. So descriptions of the structure. So the right atrium, its function is to get low oxygen blood and pump it to the right ventricle. The right ventricle pumps low oxygen blood to the lungs. The left atrium gets high oxygen blood and pumps to the left ventricle. The tricuspid valve controls blood flow from right atrium to right ventricle. The I don't have it listed here for some reason, but the left ventricle pumps high oxygen blood to the aorta. The mitral valve controls blood flow from the left atrium to the left ventricle. The aorta carries blood away from the heart. The pulmonary veins moves oxygenated blood to the left atrium. The pulmonary arteries carries blood from the heart to the lungs. The superior vena cava carries blood from the upper body, while the inferior vena cava carries blood from the lower body. The larynx allows air to go to the lungs by allowing access to the trachea. The trachea carries air in and out of the lungs, which it gets the air from the larynx. The right lung brings oxygen to the bloodstream and removes carbon dioxide. The left lung also brings oxygen to the bloodstream and removes carbon dioxide. The bronchus is in charge of distributing the air throughout the lungs. The bronchioles carry air to the alveolus. The alveolus exchanges the oxygen and carbon dioxide into and out of the bloodstream. Those are the little sacs. The diaphragm pulls air into the lungs by making a vacuum, which assists in breathing and getting oxygen into your lungs. The upper lobe is the top part of your lungs, while the lower lobe is the bottom part of your lungs. Now on to the physiology. So for the right side of the heart, the right and left do things simultaneously, but it's easier to explain it as the right side and left side and what their functions are at the same time. So on the right side, the low oxygen blood goes from the body, goes through the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava into the right atrium from the lower half and upper half of your body. Well, actually, the superior being the upper half, inferior being the lower half, but all this low oxygen from the body is going into the right atrium, where your tricuspid valve will open for this blood to go from the right atrium to the right ventricle. When the right ventricle is full, it will contract and send blood out of the pulmonary arteries to the lungs to go get oxygen because they are low oxygen blood. The diaphragm contracts to help you breathe, where oxygen-rich air is let through the larynx, which is let through the trachea and into the bronchus of the left and right lungs, where it goes through the bronchus to the bronchioles and to the alveolus, where the oxygen is transferred to the bloodstream. While this is all happening, on the left side, high oxygen blood is going from the lungs' upper and lower lobes through the pulmonary veins down into the left atrium of the heart. The mitral valve will open so blood can go from the left atrium to the left ventricle. When the left ventricle is full, the mitral valve will contract, opening the aorta, which the heart will then send high oxygen blood through the aorta of the heart to the rest of the body to repeat this process. This is a pathway of blood throughout the respiratory system of the heart, lungs, larynx, trachea, etc. So yes, this is my video without my 3D model because I left that school. And